Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I wanted to share with you my end of the year holiday deck haul. So I might have bought a few decks at the end of 2020. Just a couple. I'm going to show you some of the ones that I already have in hand, and then we'll talk about a couple of the ones that I have on order or that are coming to me soon, but all that were ordered at the very end of 2020 because I kind of went on a little bit of a deck buying spree. So let's take a look at the ones that I currently have. So we're going to start with a deck that was on my wish list for a very long time. And like a lot of people, I got an Amazon gift card for the holidays from my father, and so I bought a couple decks. I bought some of the ones that have been kind of hanging out on my wish list that I just hadn't really, I just hadn't purchased quite yet. And some of them for reasons because I have other ones that are similar to it in my collection, but I decided that I wanted to go ahead and give these ones a go. So the first one is the Sacred Mothers and Goddesses Oracle. And this is a Blue Angel deck, so it comes in this big box. I do intend to make bags for some of these because I don't particularly like these gigantic boxes. As you can see, it does have a nice guidebook, but the cards just kind of, flop around in there. So we're just gonna take a quick look at the cards. I'm not gonna go into too much detail because I do have a couple decks that I wanna share, but I thought we would just take a look at some of the cards in each of these decks, and then I'll talk a little bit about why I did go ahead and get them. So this one is, of course, the Sacred Mothers and Goddesses. I really love this artwork. This was, I do believe, originally an indie deck, and then it was picked up by Blue Angel. I've been following this artist's creations on her website for about a year or so, so I've been keeping an eye on this deck, kind of waiting it around for it to be released. I do really quite enjoy the artwork, but I do have several decks in my collection that do have the Sacred Mothers and the Goddesses and really similar energies. So maybe I might do some comparison videos, but I did finally decide to go ahead and get this one because the artwork is just beautiful, and I really like the cardstock, which is not something I would normally say about a Blue Angel deck, but they have really changed up their cardstock, and they really up their production value. And so I really do like this cardstock. It is it's definitely a matte cardstock, so as you can see, it's not super shiny. It is typical oracle size, but it is pretty light and flexible, so I think it'll shuffle really nicely. And it's just kind of a pleasure to hold. It doesn't seem to stick too bad. I guess we're gonna go ahead and see them all because I'm here and there's not that many of them. That's another reason why I didn't get this deck earlier, was because there's really not that many cards. I mean, it's a small oracle, even for an oracle. Oracle has less cards than tarot, but this one is a fairly small one. There are only 40 cards, but I really do love the artwork. The backs are quite lovely as well. I think this would be gorgeous edged in like a tea stain color to kind of match those edges there. And I do really quite like the artwork. That's really what it was about for me. We'll just take a quick flip through the guidebook. It's in black and white. It does have a table of contents, and there is a little bit about each one. So we get, I think, like 2-3 pages on each one. And one of the things that I did like when I was flipping through this guidebook is that it has the messages. It has some activities and rituals and some spreads for each one, which I did quite like. So I'm really glad that I was able to get it, and so that I can really kind of play with some of that. Because I do like that there are unique suggestions, activities, and rituals and spreads for each of these goddesses or sacred mothers. It reminds me a little bit of the Goddess Oracle guidebook in that sense. I really do love this artwork. And again, like I said, the only reason I kind of held off on it is because I do have several decks in my collection that kind of fit this same theme. And I'd be curious to see, maybe I'll do a side-by-side comparison if anybody's interested, or we'll just take a look at the decks that I have that are along this line so we can see, you know, where the similarities are. I am kind of curious to see which decks have sort of repeating archetypes or people or goddesses or sacred mothers in them, and which ones have some different ones. So that, I think that might be fun to do at some point. But this was definitely one that's been hanging out on my wish list for a really long time. And I finally decided, the artwork is just beautiful, and I just finally decided that I needed it. So that is the Sacred Mothers and Goddesses. So another deck that's been hanging out on my wish list for quite some time is the Wisdom of the Trees Oracle. Now this is a deck by, I believe, Watkins. Yes, Watkins Publishing, and it does have the slide tray box thing. Again, I will be making bags because I don't store my decks this way, but it has the tray inside, and it's already starting to rip, and I've only been into this box like twice, but you know, I don't keep my my decks in their boxes anyway, unless they come in a really nice box. So let's just move some of this out of the way because it's kind of big. So this is another oracle that I have kind of just had hanging out on my wish list. Not necessarily because I have other decks that really kind of fit this theme, but mostly because I wasn't really sure what I would do with it. And I have to be honest, my real pull to this deck is this gorgeous artwork. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm really not thrilled. This was the other thing. I'm really not thrilled with the borders. They do align with the kind of, I don't know if they call them suits, but they do align with some of the structure of this deck. I don't really mind this brown one, but it's really kind of the blue and the red one that I don't like. It just, the blue one in particular, just, it kind of feels like it really stands out on the card, and it really distracts from the artwork. So this one was hanging out on my wish list for quite some time because I just wasn't sure if I would actually use it, as beautiful as this artwork is. And then once I got it, I was like, yeah, the artwork is stunning, but the borders are really, really distracting. I do want to try to do some readings with it maybe, and incorporate it into some spreads first, but I just don't know if I can. The borders are so distracting. It's like the first thing my eye goes to, and that's not really what I want when I see an oracle or when I work with an oracle. But the artwork, if you look past the borders, the artwork in this deck is absolutely stunning. And I think maybe I just need to take the borders off, and that's really been my only real kind of hesitation with this deck, is that these borders, like I said, the brown one's not so bad, it matches a little bit better, but the blue one and the red one in particular really kind of just take away from the artwork for me. So this one, and here's the backs, which are, you know, lovely, they're fine. I mean, nothing fantastic, but they're fine. So I really held off on it because of the borders is really what it was. I do know that the borders do serve some purpose, because I have watched some walkthroughs of this deck. The guidebook is really lovely. It is full color. I was just trying to get to the colors to see if there was association. So we have roots for being, trunk for healing, leaf for wisdom, and flower, fruit, and seeds for power, which is totally cool. I love trees. I live in the Pacific Northwest where we have lots of them. And so I really do love trees. I love tree energy. And I don't have very many tree decks in my collection. But I was really interested in really this artwork because it's absolutely beautiful. And I was trying to find out, I don't see where it says anything about the colors being like important to reading with the card. I didn't see anything about the colors other than it is just divided by colors for those little suits. So being, healing, wisdom, power. So I think I could probably safely take the borders off of this, and the book does show it with the borders. So if I needed to know which suit it belonged to, I could easily use the guidebook to reference that. So that's really where I'm at with this deck. Is I was just really trying to figure out, you know, if I liked the artwork well enough to deal with the borders, and I really do, but I think the borders just need to go. So I think that's just something that has to happen. Like I said, these brown ones they kind of match a little bit better. And I think that if the borders had been maybe not so bright colors, maybe a little bit more kind of muted or saturated, that maybe I wouldn't have minded them so much. But on some of them, they're just really, I don't know, they're just really distracting. I just can't with these. So that's why it was on my, hanging out on my Amazon list for a really long time, was just because I just really wasn't sure if I could get on with those borders, and turns out probably not so much. So I'm probably just going to take them off. So maybe we'll do a bond with that at some point. But I do think the artwork is absolutely stunning, and I am really excited to dive into it and to give it a read and see how it works for me. So that is the Wisdom of Trees Oracle. So now let's take a look at a couple of decks that were kind of impulse purchases. We're still in the decks that I used my Amazon gift certificate for, and this was one that I just happened to stumble across on Amazon when I was just looking at oracles, and I don't know why I was looking at oracles. I mean, I had a gift certificate, that's why I was looking at oracles, but why oracles in particular? And you can see I kind of have a very sort of earthy, Celtic-y theme going on here. So apparently I was really feeling that at the end of the year. This is the Earth Wisdom Oracle. And I have never seen this deck before. Like I said, I just stumbled across it. It's in a hard box. It's a low Scarabeo deck. And again, this is another one that only has 32 cards, so it's a fairly small oracle. But I really kind of dig the artwork on this oracle. It's got the little ribbon in the box, which is kind of nice. So take a look at the guidebook in a minute. But this deck, yeah. So it has very, of course, Celtic imagery, and I feel like this one would go really well with my Llewellyn tarot. And I really love the artwork, and here's a case where I don't mind the borders. They're dark, they're unobtrusive, and I think that they actually work quite well for this deck. And I actually really like the keywords, and that's always another thing that I really kind of take into consideration when I'm looking at an oracle deck, is how do the keywords resonate with me? And so for this particular deck, I think they resonate beautifully. I can't quite figure out what the art style is. It looks like it's painted, but occasionally there looks like there's collage-y things in there. But it's really it's very detailed artwork. And it's a very, it's not a close-in perspective. It's very, we're very zoomed out, sort of more of an atmospheric element to it than being right up but close and personal with it. But again, I really do love these keywords that are on this deck, and I think the artwork is just beautiful. And I've never seen this deck before. I'm sure people have it. It's just not one that I've ever seen before or I've ever stumbled across. I love this card. I think this is one of my favorite in the deck. It's just absolutely stunning. And apparently we're going to do a full walkthrough of the oracles because we're here. But overall, yeah, it's really about the artwork and the keywords for me with this deck, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I want in an oracle. Again, it's very kind of Celtic, very pagan inspired. Oh, look at that one with awareness. Beautiful. I feel like the first The first set of cards almost have a little bit of a tarot feel to me. So this is just, it's just a gorgeous deck. And I don't know if why I've never seen it before. If you have this deck, I would be curious to know what your thoughts are about it. I mean, look at that one, so beautiful. It's not very close up, like I was saying. It feels a little bit more, I don't know what I'm looking for. Sorry, this is just a totally spur of the moment video. I just wanted to share these decks. But it does feel a little bit more far away, not quite so up close and personal as some of my other Celtic decks feel. But, and I love this one too. I mean, it's just, yeah, just beautiful. And this one, gorgeous artwork. And that's really what this deck what caught my attention about this deck was the beautiful cards. And then when I really started to look at it and look into the keywords, I realized those resonate really well with me too. The backs are beautiful. We have this tree. It is reversible, so that's always nice. I don't read reversals, but that's always nice for other people. The little guidebook is, quite lovely. It's a Barbara Moore guidebook. The other thing that I noticed that this deck also includes is an herb and a stone, and I think that is for all of them, which is really cool. I really like that is incorporated into all of these cards. Now, because it is a Los Scarabeo deck, we do have the multiple languages. So this is all that's actually in English. And again, like I said, it's only 32 cards, so there's not a ton here. But I think it's definitely enough. I don't know that I would really even need the guidebook to work with this deck, because I think that the keywords are really expansive on it. But I do like, as I said, those inclusion of the herbal correspondences and the crystal correspondences, which is really lovely. But again, yeah, it's just all about this artwork for me. It's just gorgeous. Gorgeous artwork. I really like the borders as well. So this is one that I will probably actually be keeping the borders on and maybe just edging it. I'm not even totally sure I'm going to make a bag for it because it does just come in this nice 2-piece box. So that's something that I can easily put into my baskets and not have to really worry about. So that is the Earth Wisdom Oracle. So another impulse purchase on Amazon is the Tree Angel Oracle deck. Now this is a reprint of, it was out of print and then it came back into print. I don't know if it was by the same publisher or not, but this is one that I've looked at many times in the past, but it was out of print and I just wasn't willing to pay out of print prices for it. But then Renee from Meadowlark Mystic messaged me a couple pictures of this. She'd gotten this deck and was working with it and thought it was fantastic. And so of course, after seeing a couple of the cards, she sent me pictures of a couple of cards. I was like, yep, I need that one. And I ordered it on Amazon and it came like the next day. And this was right around Christmas time. So that was actually quite impressive. I do really like the artwork on this deck. Again, it's another tree oracle. So apparently I was really feeling the need to pull some tree energy in. The cardstock is very shiny. It is by Earth Dancer, which is not a publisher that I've heard of, but the artwork is quite lovely. Again, we're back to these, big white borders, which are not my favorite, which I feel really close the artwork in. But this is a deck that if I didn't have the titles on it, I don't know if I would know what is what. So it's definitely one that I am, giving some consideration to whether or not I want to actually trim it. But I think the artwork is really quite cool. It does have, it's the tree angels, so there are human figures in all of them. This guy, whenever I see him, I see Bruce Willis, and like, I can't unsee that now. And I'm sorry if I just ruined that card for you, but It's not like it's a ruined it. I mean, I like Bruce Willis, but sometimes when I recognize faces in a deck, that just totally kills it for me. So we'll see how it goes. I actually ended up rehoming a couple of decks because the people in it looked like people that I recognized, which were all like movie people, but it just pulled me out of the space of the deck itself. So I ended up rehoming them, but we'll see how that goes. But I think the artwork is quite lovely. To be honest, I'm not as drawn to this one as I am the Earth Wisdom and the Wisdom of the Trees, the two that we just looked at. But I do think the artwork is quite lovely, and I wonder if I would connect with it better without the big white borders. But then we're back to, I don't know if I will know what is what. Some of my cards also have smudges on the white borders, and so that's a little bit distracting, but I haven't used this deck. Obviously, it's still in order, but I have, looked through it a couple of times. I do really enjoy the artwork, just not sure about it. Now that I have it in hand, I'm just not sure about it. I am going to try, giving it a read. The backs are quite lovely. I'm going to try working with it and see how that goes. Again, the artwork is beautiful, but I'm not feeling that pull to it like I did the Earth Wisdom. It has a, lovely little guidebook. We have a page or two for each one, a little bit about the, sort of the message, and then we have a little black and white picture, which I could use this as reference if I decided to trim these down. And then we have this little probably like a prayer, I would guess, being that these are tree angels, which I do really like that. I love when creators add little creative touches like that. But yeah, this is one that I definitely need to work with a little bit more, or work with, I guess, at all, because I haven't actually worked with it. These are all decks that I've only opened and looked through. I've never done any readings or looked through any of these because, these were all just new additions to my collection. But I do think these tree angels are very beautiful, and I do really enjoy the artwork. I'm just not sure how they're going to work for me quite yet, so we'll definitely have to give that a try and see. So that is the Tree Angel Oracle deck. So the last deck that I have to share with you today is actually a deck that I purchased off of US Games. So now we're not using my gift card anymore, and I'm just flat out buying decks. I actually purchased 2 decks from US Games. I purchased this Tarot of Mystical Moments, and another deck called Universal Folk Oracle, which is a pre-order. So I just went ahead and pre-ordered that one because I thought it looked really interesting. So we'll take a look when it does finally release. I do believe it said mid-December, but I think they're backed up. So the Tarot of the Mystical Moments is, I'm going to be honest, in my first initial reaction to this deck, I have waited and waited for this deck to come out. I absolutely adore the Oracle. It comes in this lovely box. We'll just go ahead and jump in from US Games. I'm actually going to move the boxes out of the way because they take up too much space. But I didn't pre-order it because I was just going to wait till it came out on Amazon, and then that was just taking far too long, and I was impatient, was really what it came down to. Because again, I was going to use my Amazon gift certificate, but I was impatient, and I kept seeing it and kept hearing everybody talking about it. And I have waited, I've watched, I've been on the creator's Instagram, I've been following the progression of this deck. And then I started seeing people actually getting it in hand. And I do have to say that I was a bit disappointed by the production of it. For one, it's larger than the Oracle deck, which I was hoping they would be the same size because the Oracle deck is a really wonderful size. And this is a bit larger. It is glossy and it is gilded. So I'm gonna be perfectly honest that my disappointment in the choice to make the cards larger, to make them glossy, and to make them gilded really bumped it right back off my list. And I was like, yep, nope, I don't need it because I have other decks that are really similar to this. You know, obviously I have the Oracle, but I also have other decks that have a little bit of this feel to them. A little bit. Like I do have other collage decks that have a kind of similar energy. Not quite as whimsical or a little bit more in this sort of daydream world as this one is, but I do have decks that are fairly similar. But then I started seeing the artwork and I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. The artwork, you know, I love the Oracle deck. I do. I adore it. This chariot is amazing. And anyway, I started seeing the artwork, and once I really kind of dove into watching some flip throughs and seeing this beautiful artwork, I decided to go ahead and order it directly from US Games. But I do have to say that the glossiness disappoints me. The Oracle is matte and it's beautiful, and the fact that it's gilded with the shiny gilding, that, yeah, not my favorite for sure. But you know, just in being perfectly honest and my thoughts and my opinions on it, that was a disappointment, and I took it off my list because of that, because I was like, nope, I have the Oracle deck and I really like that one, and I have other decks that are fairly similar. But then I saw the artwork and I was like, yep, I need to have it. I might have to try to take the gilding off because I really, you know how I feel about the shiny, cheap gilding. You know, when it's the really nice matte gilding, which this, and that's the other thing, the silver, why silver? Silver to me doesn't work with this deck. Like a really muted matte gold, I think would have been better, or just how about no gilding? And then I could have chosen to edge it, which I will probably still do, in the different colors to match the suits. Let's kind of gonna go through here. The suits all have a little different color at the bottom, which I think is really lovely. And so if I got rid of that gilding, I could, let's get down here to the swords. I could edge it to match those, right? And then do my my little antiquing on it that I did with the Oracle of the Mystical Moments. Sorry, they're quite slippery. If I just pick them up, but they're gonna catch on my lights. And you know, that's the thing. That's the thing, especially today. I love this King of Pentacles. Look at this Ace of Pentacles. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. That's the thing. that's really the thing. I adore the artwork, but this gilding, like it's all over my hands, it's all over my cards, it's coming off already. I haven't even shuffled this deck and it's coming off already. So, oh, look at that one. Oh, yeah. I completely love this artwork. I adore it. But I think it's gonna need a mod because, yeah, working with it, like, let's just try. We're here. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do a walkthrough, but, oh, large size, hard for my hands, and gilded. Yeah. Okay. Okay, ow. And that did not, I mean, look at that. That's kind of chunky. I mean, they slide, but they're big and heavy. I don't know. I'm being nitpicky. I mean, let's just be honest about that. I'm totally being nitpicky here. Because it is a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. I love the artwork. Oh my goodness. I love it so much. I love it enough to forgive its shiny, shiny cardstock. It's cheap silver gilded edges. I love it enough to forgive it for all of its little flaws because the artwork is amazing. So Okay, that's my little that's my little discussion on the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I haven't even looked at the guidebook. I'm sure it's lovely, although I do have to say that the guidebook for the Oracle doesn't connect for me at all, so I don't use it, but I love the cards, and I totally ignore the keywords on the cards and just focus on the artwork, but it just has a little write-up for each one with the upright and reverse meanings. So we do, yeah, we have the female kings as well as the male kings, which is interesting. But at any rate, that's where I'm at with the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I totally I caved because I love the artwork, but I am disappointed that they chose to use the shiny cardstock and gild it. So because this is totally just a play video, here's the Oracle, and it's a nice tarot size. It wasn't gilded, and so I was able to edge it in like this antique thing that I had going on. And the cardstock is it's not glossy, it's not really sticky matte either. It's what I call satin. It's like a satin finish, which is beautiful, beautiful. But now look how much bigger these are. Which is lovely because the artwork, like, right, we can see more of the artwork, and that is really lovely. And I think it would just be better if it was on this cardstock and not gilded, and even being this larger size, because I do really like being able to see this artwork really big and beautiful. But yeah, and the shiny cardstock, like it makes it hard to have it on camera, to record it, to film it, to take pictures of it, you know. And in this day and age when everybody is doing that kind of stuff, it's really something that I think publishers need to keep in mind. Generally, US Games is pretty spot on with their decks lately, but this one, I'm not sure why they went back, or why they went to this particular setup with the glossy gilded thing going on here. But to me, this is just, you know, you pay for that. Every time they add something to the deck, we pay for it. So just give us some decent cardstock, something that is usable and a good size, and that's all I'm asking for, really. That's it. But anyway, I absolutely adore the artwork in this deck, so I'm so glad to have it in my collection. I'm really looking forward to working with it, but I can tell you right now that the gilding is probably gonna have to come off before I really want to work with it, because it's all over my hands. You probably can't tell it, but it's all over my hands, it's all over the cards, and it just hurts. So I'm like, I'm over it. I'm over the shiny gilding. So that is the Tarot of Mystical Moments. Okay, so real quick, let's talk about a couple of decks that I purchased at the end of the year but just haven't arrived yet. As I mentioned, I pre-ordered the Universal Folk Oracle by US Games. That's one I'm really looking forward to. The artwork is really interesting. It is quite young, which is not usually my thing, but I'll be curious to see how it actually reads, because I do really like the artwork. I think it's really, really pretty. I think it's a really interesting take for an Oracle deck, so I'm excited to get that one in hand. A couple other decks that I ordered is the Ad Orbita Tarot. That's by the same creator as the Ophidia Rosa Tarot, and the Maiden Oracle, and the Pythia Botanica. Like, I have all of her decks. All the decks by that creator. And so when I saw that one, that was a total impulse buy. I saw it on Instagram and I was like, oh, they've got a new one out, I need it. So I ordered that. The other deck that I ordered that is still on its way to me is the Talaric Runes. And I've gone back and forth about this deck because, you know, runes is something new to me, but I was working with runes in casting, and I haven't really used runes in card form beyond just studying them. So to like actually do readings, I've never really used my rune cards for readings. So I thought it would be really cool to try those. And to be honest, I bought them to pair them with my Witch's Wisdom Oracle, because I've seen Nina from Shuffle Tarot had paired those two decks and they just look beautiful. And the Witch's Wisdom is one of the decks that I am studying currently. So I picked that up to work alongside that deck. And then of course, as I mentioned in my December reflections, I pre-ordered the second edition, I think it's the second edition of the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. I am so excited about that one. And I'm just gonna show you real quick. I bought a bag. I bought a bag specifically for a deck, and I don't even have the deck. But look at this bag. It is so fantastic. It has an embroidered fox on it. It has this, I don't even know what material this is. It's got these lovely cords and this eye socket and the inside, and it's from Aeon Moon. Anyway, I'll leave a link because, oh my goodness, this bag is amazing. I don't have the deck, so I hope it fits in there. I just got the standard tarot size. So I hope it'll fit. I think it will, but I saw this, and this was, again, another total impulse purchase. I saw it and I had to have it because it was just beautiful. So this bag is sitting here waiting for my deck to get to me, which I think is not going to be till February. But that's okay. We'll wait patiently because I know it's going to be worth it when it finally gets here. So anyway, that is a look at, oh my goodness, the decks that I kind of impulse purchased a little bit from Amazon, the deck that I finally went ahead and got from US Games, and a couple of the other ones that I have underway. If you have any of these decks, I would love to know what you think about them. So feel free to share with me in the comments below.
Thank you for joining me today. You will find links for everything featured here in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.